research as a postdoc. Oh, thank you. So as a note, you all probably saw that where this is being recorded. There were several aerospace engineering students who were not able to join. And so we're going to record this and then we'll host it on the college's website so that they can benefit from the questions that you ask and hopefully the answers that we'll be able to provide. I also saw that Dr. Akichi has joined. So yeah, you all will see Jennifer and Roger a lot more after your first year or so, but feel free to come and ask us questions. I have had undergraduate research assistants work in my lab during their freshman year. So if you are interested in that, it's definitely a possibility. You have to ask around, but there are potentially some opportunities there depending on the individual. And yeah, like Ms. Hartwood said, the faculty in this department are pretty fantastic folks. I'm really glad to be here. And so speaking of those, one of whom is Dr. Akichi. Like I said, he's our associate department head, and he works a lot with the graduate programs. He teaches undergraduate courses as well. So Dr. Akichi, if you'd like to say howdy, then we can do a little bit of overview. We can answer any questions that the students have got and make use of this time.
Sure. Welcome to our first Zoom meeting. I guess we're going to have a lot of those this semester. Hopefully it's not going to go beyond this. It's our hope that this is going to come to an end. This craziness, it's been really terrible because we can't be in the office, we can't be in the classroom, and we're as frustrated as everybody else in this meeting. So welcome to MAVE, and I just want to say that you guys have made a great choice. I'm not just saying that because I work here. I've been I've worked at a couple of other universities, and I know for a fact that UT is right on par, if not better, in many aspects with those other two institutions that I've been involved in. You're going to get a really great education, world-class education. You'll be getting a lot of opportunities outside the classroom. If you want to be involved in undergraduate research opportunities, we have many faculty members who are actively looking for undergrad students. Having said that, if I were you, I would probably not do it in the first year. You go to your classes, get a feel for what it is like. Once you're in your second year or third year, when you start taking more departmental classes, you may be more ready to go into a research environment. Our students have gotten a lot of good opportunities in terms of job placement in mechanical, aerospace, and biomedical, in all three fields. And I think you will be really happy and satisfied at the end of your 4 years, and you'll appreciate the fact that you have chosen UT compared to other places. And I'm glad that you guys are here and starting a rather strange school year. But we'll do as much as we can to make this as more in person as possible, so that you have a good start of the academic career. So with that, are we moving on to like departmental meetings or questions? I apologize, I don't have this, like the schedule in front of me, and I was having trouble logging in. As you can see, I was looking at my calendar to find the Zoom link, but I realized that Joe has set it up for us. Thank you, I see that he's online. And I was trying to find the link, but I don't have the schedule in front of me, so I'm going to kick the ball back to you, Doug.
Sure, yeah. So thank you, Dr. Akichi. We are going to stay together for this, mostly because I suspect that many of the questions that you all have are going to be very relevant to everyone in your first year. So we most definitely can dive into an overview of the department, kind of the broad areas of specialization, kind of topically, what do mechanical engineers and aerospace engineers and biomeds do? But if you all had some questions to begin with, that at least is directly relevant to some folks' interests. And then we do have that overview as kind of a backup. So feel free to ask any questions right now. And if those are not forthcoming, we'll dive into this overview. But I wanted to make sure that we answered everything that was on y'all's minds during this time we've got together. So you can type them, you can unmute yourself and go ahead and ask them. Please feel free to.
Usually it takes one or two people asking a couple of questions and then, you know, all the floodgates get open. So don't be shy.
I guess my question would be, so for mechanical engineering, that's my major. I'm definitely interested in going into the auto mechanical engineering field. And I know you guys have it's like a career fair. So is there going to be a lot of companies that are like around here, anywhere that we could do co-ops, internships, stuff like that in the next few years?
Yeah, that's a very good question because it'll touch on co-ops in general and then automotive manufacturing or automotive design more specifically. So yes, as I understand it, subject to every individual company's policies on how they're handling remote work or not during this pandemic, there will still be co-op and internship fairs held by the Office of Professional Practice and by the Center for Career Development. So one brief aside, we in the College of Engineering have the Office of Professional Practice, and they will help you all with setting up and then going through your co-ops. They also help with finding internships during the summers, as well as potentially internships during the school year. That's in the college, right? Then there's also the Center for Career Development, which is in the university. They're over in the UC, Student Union. It was University Center when I was a student here, and now it's Student Union. So Center for Career Development is in the Student Union, and they also organize job and internship fairs. Those will both happen this fall. Thank you, Jennifer, for putting that link there. At least one of those, I believe, is on September 22nd. So about a month from now, and then another one a little bit later in the fall. There are job and internship fairs both in the fall and in the spring that are put on by the college and by the university. So I agree with Dr. Akichi. It may be it may be enjoyable for you to look into those opportunities now during fall. I would 100% recommend focusing on adjusting to how we're going to do school, at least this fall, and hopefully things go back to normal in the spring. But regardless, job and internship opportunities right now, that could be distracting. I'm sorry, I don't know why this is dinging at me.
Excuse me there, Dr. Aaron, if I could pitch in there for a second. One thing I'll add to that is that officially, there are always exceptions, of course, but officially, most co-ops and internships really want people to get through their first year before they really consider them. To the point of the question, I think there typically are quite a few opportunities with companies like Toyota in Chattanooga, and I can't remember, there's a couple of companies I think in Maryville that that work in automotives and so on. But regardless of, you know, what those interests are, we have offices. I know Dr. Aaron was talking about the what we call the Office of Professional Practice, the Engineering Professional Practice Office. We're really lucky in that they are, it's the only college in the university that has an office that's just designed to help students get co-ops and internships like that. And so, you know, a lot of what we're going to be doing as advisors is getting you in a position where, you know, you'll be good applicants for those, but they're going to help you find them. They're not necessarily going to give them to you. That's one thing that you have to keep in mind, is that you are going to have to go to those career fairs and job fairs and co-op fairs and look for those opportunities. And the same thing, I know someone was asking about research, whether it's for biomedical or some of the other majors. There's definitely lots of opportunities for undergraduate research, and we're going to be helping you reach those, you know where to look for and how to get those things. So it might not necessarily come in the first semester, but the opportunity's there for you to look for them when you're ready. So
I put the link to the co-op office. Roger was talking about the engineering professional practice, and
we call it the co-op office.
Yeah, we call it the co-op office, and its website is actually coop.utk.edu. But I think during your first year, you should probably spend some time looking at that website. They list companies there along with the average salaries for co-ops, and so it might do you well to learn the companies that are there, do some research on them before you walk up to some of these fairs. But even though co-ops and internships are unlikely as a freshman, we still encourage you to participate. That way you learn how to communicate, you learn a little bit more about the companies, and you're a little more prepared when you do get past your first 30 hours. So I would encourage you to just go to that website and do some research. You can sign up for a student account. That'll get you more information. You can walk in and meet with advisors. I think Ethan's question was specifically about automotive, so you could look there and see what companies typically hire our students and see if those are some that you're interested in. Having said that, you don't have to use our co-op office. You can find co-ops and internships on your own if you want. It's still wise to work with our office and the co-op office to make sure that things are in order when you do that, but there's a lot of different resources out there for you.
Right on, yeah, and thank you to both Jennifer and Roger. Yeah, the Engineering Expo, which is a co-op and internship and job fair, it's on September 15th and 16th, and it is going to be virtual. I saw that there was that question very recently. So previously, we would recommend you go and walk around Thompson Bowling Arena, where all of the tables are set up and all the stands or booths for all the different companies that are there recruiting. Unfortunately, we don't have that this fall, so they will be virtual, but you can still, and we encourage you to, poke around the coop.utk.edu site and get an idea of what resources are there for you. And yeah, so there's VW down in Chattanooga. Denso is a pretty large auto parts manufacturer that's in Maryville, and then a little bit further south in Athens and Spring City. Eisen is a really large auto parts manufacturing company. They're just up I-75, maybe 15 miles or so not very far from here. East Tennessee in particular, and Tennessee a little more generally, have been very aggressive about growing automotive manufacturing in the last probably 15 years or so. Okay, so we got some going on in the chat. Yeah, and then Nissan over there in Middle Tennessee. So if that's your inclination, fantastic. We also have the EcoCar program in our department. That is a United States Department of Energy sponsored program where they do a cycle of several years of converting a regular combustion car into either all electric or a hybrid electric and gas so hybrid car. Students have the opportunity as sophomores to start working on those projects. You can volunteer with it and then start taking classes where you get academic credit for it. And that really is a course where students completely change, say, a Camaro from a gas burner into a hybrid or all electric vehicle. So EcoCar is pretty sweet as well. I did see there was a question about robotics. To my knowledge, we don't have a robotics specific club. We might, because I don't know all of the clubs that we have here at the university. But we do have the student chapter of the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. They do have robotics competitions that the students can be part of. We have a student group that has been working on the Mars Rascal. I think Rascal is what they call it. It's the Mars ice extraction contest that's sponsored by NASA. And that involves a fair bit of robotics where the team has had to design a machine that will ultimately core out ice on Mars, and potentially those designs would get incorporated in a Mars rover. So we do have those opportunities for those really interested in robotics. Dr. Caleb Rucker is, he's the robotics and mechatronics focused faculty member that we've got. And he has sponsored these teams. A lot of our additive manufacturing or advanced manufacturing faculty, they have to have a fair bit of knowledge of robotics because that's a pretty heavy topic for advanced manufacturing, specifically Bill Hamill as well. So Dr. Hamill is one of the professors in our department who does metal additive manufacturing, so welding. Like his group, they can weld a pipe like this. And so they're welding pretty much horizontally to build a pipe with the axis running horizontally, which blows my mind because, you know, you got molten metal that wants to sag down and they're able to get around that. Not with anti-gravity or anything magical like that, but through robotic control of a welding arm. So yes, robotics and mechatronics, we have a fair bit of that going on here. Shadowing opportunities during the freshman year, again, probably not, at least not that are sponsored or encouraged by the department or the college or the university. Certainly as individuals, if you know someone who's working at a company and you want to go out there and do that, perfectly fine. But EF is a pretty intense course. It takes a lot of effort and engagement. So we don't encourage folks to spend a whole lot of time on those. There's going to be a lot of adjustment. I only took 14 hours my first semester here just so that I had a little bit of extra time to get used to what I needed to do in college. And I wholeheartedly encourage y'all to do that, do the same. Yeah, I'll look that up about the Rascal. It's the Mars Ice Challenge, I believe is what it's called. I'll look up a little bit more about that because I found it here to forward that to you. Okay, so what other questions can we answer? One question that I meant to check on was use of the ICS, the Innovation and Collaboration Studio on the first floor of Perkins. In EF, I think you'll still be going to those shops to make parts for your EF courses, but I'm not certain about that. If you all know it, I'd love to, because the ICS is it's a really nice resource, and it's available to engineers of all levels. So if you're transferring in and you're not in your first year, or after you finish with engineering fundamentals, you can always go back there. I've learned a little bit of basic woodworking and done some 3D printing for prototyping, stuff that we use in our labs with the resources that are down there. Yeah, Dr. Irick's the one for learning about EcoCar. Oh, is someone asking about fuel cells? Fantastic.
We don't do anything with fuel cells.
Yeah, thank you. No, so if you are into batteries and fuel cells, that's what our group does. So the department head, Dr. Mensch, and I work together on batteries and fuel cells. Not lithium batteries like what you would see in your laptop or your cell phone, but the kinds of batteries that you would use for storing power from wind farms. So the very large capacity. We say that it's legit for mechanical engineering because it does involve a lot of fluid flow and heat transfer. A little bit of mechanics that most folks would associate with mechanical engineering, but a lot with fluids and heat transfer. So about scholarships, most scholarships are administered by the college. The department has historically done scholarships or awarded them to juniors and seniors, generally based on academic performance, so GPA based. I'm not sure how that will change over the next year or two, but for now, department scholarships don't really apply to first years because you all aren't really in MABE yet. I want to see, let's see, we have 183 people on this call right now, maybe 5 or 6 of us who are not new students. So I hope that we have 178 of you in MABE next year. But until you finish EF 152, you won't be quite with us yet. So we have never, I don't think we've ever given scholarships to first year students. All right, so Megan Smith.
I think, excuse me to interrupt there, but Jennifer put something very important in the chat there. I don't know if she wants to expound on it, but we do get a lot of scholarship questions, and the main thing that we will point, the main resource we'll point you to definitely is One Stop, because they're the ones officially who handle all the sort of scholarships, but typically there's nothing that there are separate applications for. But you do get a returning student scholarship form. You'll get emails about that. One thing we always say is pay attention to stuff in your emails, but make sure that you fill out all of those forms so that you'll be able to get all those scholarships.
Right, and that is one nice feature, one of the several nice features about the college is they have consolidated. It used to be that you might have to fill out 15 different scholarship applications, and most of those are all now nice and consolidated. You do the one form that Ms. Hartwig included there, and that will have you as eligible as is possible for as many scholarships as we've got. And so
one thing I will say is I know parents quite frequently hear that there's a lot of scholarships that go unfilled, and you probably need to know that those are scholarships that are offered by companies more than within the university itself. So the way to apply for scholarships at UT within engineering is just to make sure, number one, your FAFSA is up to date, and number two, fill out that returning student scholarship application, and then you are notified of anything that you're eligible for. But you can go to outside companies and see if they have small scholarships that they'll administer to you, but that's just something you'll have to do some legwork on your own. Just to
well,
add that in.
and kind of like what Dr. Aaron mentioned about it, if you know of companies that do internships or shadowing on your own, you can use those. But likewise, different companies, different private organizations have their own scholarships and their own applications. So certainly, maybe you have family members who work somewhere. Maybe if you have family members who are in clubs or groups like the Elks or the Lions or the country club down the road or whatever, look for that kind of stuff too, because that's not what we would know about.
Roger, I think your cat is now the mascot for our group.
Okay. I'm sure he'll be back.
I'm going to have to check out for another meeting, but if you guys have questions, don't hesitate to email us. So I'll let Roger and Dr. Aaron and Dr. Akichi take it from here. See you guys. Have a great first year.
See ya.
Thank you, Jennifer. Right on. I saw several questions about the ICS. It's the Innovation and Collaboration Studio. Again, it's on the first floor of Perkins. The wood shop has a boatload of scrap wood where you can learn how to turn pens and pencils. We had a student who just graduated who would make his own electric guitars and then go play them at one of the clubs here downtown. Of course, that was before the pandemic, but he would make electric guitars, play them, sell them, and then make more guitars. So you can make all kinds of cool stuff down there. As I understand it, there is a limitation on how much 3D printing filament you can use. So everyone gets some allotment for just trying out prototypes. You can buy rolls of filament, which is not terribly, yeah, that's a good point. Not on the first floor of Perkins, the very bottom floor, the sub-basement of Perkins, facing the new engineering building. So you have an allotment of 3D printer filament, but you can always buy your own roll and I think come in and print with that. And then there are a few different places where you can buy kind of specialty wood if you get into woodworking, whether it's turning or making cutting boards or you name it. So yeah, gear shift knobs are pretty easy to make because you make a small knob on the lathe and then put a threaded ferrule on it, and then you can hook it onto your car or your truck, which I've made a couple of those. I've made, well, you know, made some pens, all kinds of other good stuff. The nice thing about turning on a lathe is you don't have to worry about straight lines and right angles. Straight lines and right angles take some precision, which I was not very good at, but at least round stuff works out pretty readily. Yeah, Dr. Akichi has a good one. Oh yeah, so exotic wood, yeah. Christian Ramsey, if you look up Jeffrey's Woodworks, it's about 15 minutes south of campus. They got everything that you could ever want down there. The Life Without Limits Club, in terms of showcasing clubs here in our department, they are a really cool one. Life Without Limits was started with a student who is amputated from the elbow down, and she 3D printed a prosthetic arm. Her name is Riley Toll. And I believe she just graduated, or maybe this is her senior year. If you look Riley Toll, or if you look up Riley Toll, you'll find a boatload of articles about her. So she helped start this club. We have a faculty advisor for it, but their whole entire activity is they work with the Engineering Fundamentals program, and they print out solutions or life hacks, that's what they've been calling them, for folks who have various limitations on, say, mobility or dexterity. So they'll have a website where you can say, I want this device that will allow a person with one hand to apply finger polish or something like that. So Life Without Limits is a good one to check out. They take students from all majors, so you don't have to be a biomedical engineering major. They'll also take students from any year. They're one of the many clubs that we have that are open to everybody. And you get some practical experience by drawing and modeling different parts in CAD, and then printing it and then sending it out and having a very positive impact that way. There's a question about welding and machining. Not yet. When the new engineering building opens, as I understand it, they'll have welding capabilities or a welding station where students can learn that. We do have some opportunity for learning machining here in May. So you could learn your own manual milling and drilling with kind of hand-controlled machines, or CNC for computer-controlled machines. If you look up the makerspace in MABE, they have that there. And there's some opportunities for students to learn about that. Again, take it slow diving into all of these as you're adjusting to what 14 or 17 hours of classes is like. Yeah, so we've got Life Without Limits. Yeah, the ICS is the lowest floor, which is not the first. It's the sub-basement is what it's called. The first floor is the floor that you would go in. I'm pointing, sorry. The first floor is up at the upper road level, and then the lower road level goes to the sub-basement where you can find that.
And it's a fairly easy thing to find. It's once you're there, the building is small enough that just look around and you'll find it.
Yeah.
If I can kind of jump in, there's a question down there that I think is a good question. It says, what can I do to prepare for the first semester of classes? You know, certainly one thing that I would recommend is that you try to relax and enjoy the rest of your summer, or you know, there's not much of it left. But when we talk about preparing for classes, your instructors and all of the classes are going to, you know, everybody's going to sort of be in it together, and we're taking it all from the ground up. So it's, you know, if you're in the calculus class, you're in there for a good reason, and you'll be in a good place to start off. What I would recommend though is everybody make sure, of course, you know, we're using the Zoom, make sure all your technology is working, make sure that you know what your password is. And definitely do get in the habit of reading your email, checking the email, because you're going to be inundated. You probably already are with a lot of information, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. And one of the good habits to get into is just getting well organized and checking the email, making sure that you know what's going on and that you're not missing important things like those scholarship renewal information. But otherwise, your first semester is going to start when it starts. And as Jared Everode has pointed out, we're all in this together. We're probably all getting tired of hearing that together, but it is true. So it'll be okay. Anything to add, Dr. Aaron or Dr. Akichi?
No.
My recommendation is it's easier said than done, but
Yeah.
keep up with the schedule. Don't leave anything to the last minute before exams, okay? If you're on top of things, it's gonna go a long way.
Right. I still remember writing MATLAB code at 3 in the morning because it was due at 9:30 that morning. Like when I was in my first year, I thought, okay, if it's due tomorrow, I will do it tomorrow. And that was not good for starting out. It's very easy to fall into doing that. We'll just encourage you not to. I think most folks will generally be happier if they have a planner, if they're reading their email and spending regular time on this than diving into it the night before it's due. So a question about tutoring. That's a really good one. There is a math tutorial center. There are tutors for chemistry. There's an entire writing center for helping students who want help with like proofreading or how are they going to formulate their ideas for your English class. There's not as much a formalized tutoring organization in engineering, but EF, Engineering Fundamentals with the GTAs there and the teaching assistants do have substantial opportunity to help out. I mean, you're required to go to to your lab sessions on Tuesdays and Thursdays, right? So there's opportunity there to get help. But we don't have, like in mechanical engineering, we don't have a thermodynamics tutor or anything like that. Of course, nobody's taking thermodynamics for another couple of years yet. But for your first year classes, there is a math tutorial center, writing center, there's chemistry tutoring. And then in EF, if you're looking for tutoring or help, I cannot encourage you enough to try and find at least a couple of people that are in classes with you that you can work together with, not copying from, but working together with. And then GTAs, I believe many of them are interested in helping students if they're hung up on certain concepts. The instructors are also very fantastic. Dr. Bennett and Dr. McCord and Dr. Bogalski, definitely check in with them well before you feel like you're getting really unsteady in EF. If anything's causing you problems after you've studied it for an hour or 3, please don't hesitate to ask for that help, because most of us want to help before things get really bad. It's when someone falls very far behind and they've got 3 bad homeworks and a bad exam, that's much harder to salvage than, I had a hard time on this homework, how do I get ready for the exam?
I'm also going to point out that the university has the Student Success Center, which coordinates a lot of tutoring. There is a lot of tutoring. Sometimes it's hard to know where to find it all. But outside of the department and outside of the College of Engineering, the Student Success Center coordinates a lot of tutoring for maybe some classes that you're going to be in the first year. Typically, the further you go along in your academic career, the less tutoring there is. But that's something that advisors will definitely be talking to you about and pointing you toward. Student Success Center does tutoring. They do academic coaching, which is, academic coaching is not tutoring for a specific class, but it's things like how to develop study skills, how to develop organizational time management skills. That's a big one. So advisors will always be pointing you toward that. I always point out to people that it's not free because you're already paying for it. So you might as well take advantage of all of the things that you're already paying for. And of course, I'm not sure if they're doing any of it face-to-face. The last I heard is that for this semester, it's all going to be virtual. There might be some face-to-face tutoring. I'm not sure exactly, but I did see somebody had asked about that too. So.
Thank you. A couple other questions that I had seen pop up about math. My personal recommendation is, unless you need the free time, like if you're waffling on whether to take Cal 1 or not, it might be full. But if you can get in and you've got the time for it, almost never is more math practice a bad thing. Now, a lot of people will have AP credit. That's perfectly fine.
If they came through orientation, we got them in math. Don't worry.
Okay, good. Where there were questions about whether I should do Cal 1 or Cal 2,
right.
More math practice is always better, because you're going to be doing math for the next 4 years or 5, depending on co-op and that sort of thing, right? So, however, you have met with your advisors and you've got your schedules. Yeah, unless you're really in a mega hurry, get that practice in. Another question, Cal 1 and Cal 2 are very different in terms of the content that you study in those. So I wouldn't say that, one is equivalent to the other at all. You focus on very different aspects of calculus in those. About 3D modeling, all of you all might want to go to oyt.utk.edu. I think I typed it in there. And look on software distribution and see what licenses UT has. Because you can get SolidWorks and Inventor as part of being a student at UT, along with MATLAB and Microsoft Office and several other programs. But SolidWorks and Inventor are both there. And I believe you'll be required to use those in EF. You have to draw some parts and then print those. Yeah, so we've got SolidWorks and Inventor. Yeah, and of course there are lots of other 3D drawing programs that are available to students. And sometimes we encourage y'all to practice on some of these other programs, especially later on. But if you're new to it, SolidWorks and Inventor will serve you well all through undergrad and grad school if you decide. Yeah, Autodesk, AutoCAD, or Inventor, that's available free to students. Yeah, about MATLAB and or Python are good. You'll have to use MATLAB. A lot of people can use Python to achieve the same goals that you would have in MATLAB. But MATLAB is what you'll be learning in EF. So you might as well install it. And that's also on the OIT software distribution page. And so one thing, I'm not going to knock looking around on UT's website. If you Google like UTK software, that'll take you to that webpage. If you look for mechanical engineering undergrad on Google, it'll take you to probably one of the right pages in to where you can see our curriculum. Google's a pretty good tool for looking through at least the first pages. Once you get to like the third and fourth page, it's a little bit weird. But the first page of results will usually get you in close to the right neighborhood of what you're going to need for our sites. Of course, you can navigate to them internally. You just have to know which pathways to go down. It's a good question that Thomas Scott had about whether MATLAB, I don't think MATLAB is covered in 105. I believe you do graphing calculators and Excel and that. And then you get into MATLAB as in MATLAB in 230. And I'm not sure, my guess is that they'll want you to do MATLAB. And then if you have another way of solving the same sorts of problems, whether it's Octave or Python, then folks can avail themselves of those resources. But MATLAB is going to be the common one. It's sort of like for graphing calculators, Engineering Fundamentals has tutorials for the TI-83 Plus and 84 Plus. You can use any of a bunch of graphing calculators, but those are the two that they support the most strongly. Yeah, everything in MATLAB is available to UT students, grad and undergrad. What other questions do y'all have?
One question I saw earlier, I'm not sure if we have the answer yet, but do we know where the recording of this is going to be posted?
Oh,
I know we'd mentioned it's going to be on the, is it going to be on the MABE website or?
Yeah, so we are working on that, and I expect that it will be on the MABE website. We'll probably have a link to it on MABE's Twitter account and on MABE's Facebook account. And then on the homepage, we should have a link to it, is my expectation. That's what we'll do. We were working out with our communications folks how we'll host that and make it available to everyone. Yeah.
And I just put the actual, you know, just the department, the MABE website, mabe.utk.edu in the chat there. So some students don't even necessarily realize we have that, but it has some good information on it about advising and a lot of other things. So it's definitely a useful website to look at.
So yeah, there are a couple of questions there about other meetings you're supposed to go to. To be truthful, I really don't know what other meetings you all need to be going to. I know that Welcome Week has dozens and hundreds of opportunities where it's clubs that are having kind of welcoming sessions, different campus organizations, not necessarily clubs, but other offices. There's a whole lot going on there, and the university's calendar has a listing, I think, of pretty much all Welcome Week activities. I confess I don't know what's required or strongly encouraged, but I mean, what I would encourage you to do is to learn as much as you can about this university and what opportunities we have. I mean, a lot of you all may not know that Materials Science and Engineering has a blade making club. That's pretty rad. They've made knives and axes and all kinds of like blades, which is pretty sweet. If you're into blacksmithing, it's all handmade metal working, right? So spend a little bit of time looking around on that calendar, looking through those lists of clubs and see what appeals to you. You have got a fantastic 4 or 5 years of opportunity where you can learn a lot and really be exposed to things that probably might not have even known to look for until coming here. Because you've got people from around the world in all kinds of interests all across this university. Minors in biomed. So biomed has the 4 concentrations. Roger?
Yeah.
So I have not looked at what minors take, say, only 1 extra class for biomed, but I don't know off the top of my head what the answer to that is. There's a lot of chemistry, a fair bit of electrical engineering on one of the paths or one of the concentrations.
Yeah, excuse me, I was just sort of pulling that up, but definitely for biomed, I mean, there's the diagnostics track, mechanical device therapeutics, and then the pre-med track. And basically the way those are set up is that they have different optional electives that it's not formal. You can mix and match those electives as you wish, but with regard to, you're able to take those electives in ways that sort of guide you toward the fields that you're interested in. Yeah, I think we're officially about out of time because I was just about to point out that we do have that 2 p.m. The Zoom session for professional practice. So I'm not sure, Dr. Aaron, if you wanted to finish it up or what sort of final comments there might be. I'm going to put the link in the chat that has the schedule on it. So.
Okay. Thank you for that. And that was one I should have been, there we go. Yeah, looking at that broader schedule because I don't want to keep you all past what our time is. So,
yeah, I think we're about 5 minutes over.
Okay, well, I'm really stoked that y'all are here. And again, I hope that some of you all check in with us and say, hey, yeah, I'm interested in nanofabrication. Who can I talk to? And it doesn't have to be for research internships. It can just be because you're interested in hypersonic flight, because that's magical to me. It's just a really cool topic. So, welcome again. I'm Doug Aaron. We had Dr. Akichi and Roger Gray are all here. Please feel free to ask us any questions that you've got as you're going through. We'll do the best that we can to help you. And yeah, this question about minors for biomed, if you'll email me or Mr. Gray, we'll try to get you, we'll try to point you in the right direction for that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and what we'll do is be looking on the MADE webpage we'll have an announcement for this recording that says, here's the link to it. And we'll have it hosted for anyone who's interested. Okay. We'll also figure out how to get the chat post on it as well so that you can see in the chat there some of those links and the resources that we have. Okay.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot, Dr. Aaron. You all have a great day.
All right. Good luck. We'll see you again.